Ever wonder what it takes to keep the wheels turning in industries that rely on, like really precise chemical processes? We're talking pharmaceuticals, materials,
Oh,
everything.
absolutely. It's a huge field.
So you've been diving deep into the world of chemical processing supervisors with some really interesting resources from RoleCatcher. And let me tell you, this isn't your average desk job.
It certainly isn't. It's a role that requires a deep understanding of chemistry, but also the ability to lead and inspire a team. Precision and people skills, you need both.
That's what's so fascinating. You get this high-stakes environment where quality control is, like, absolutely paramount. RoleCatcher really drives home the point that even the slightest error in a chemical plant can have huge ripple effects.
Right. Absolutely. We're talking about, products that impact our health, our safety, even our technological advancements. A chemical processing supervisor's ability to ensure those defined tests, those analyses, those quality control procedures are followed to the letter. That's not just about efficiency, it's about safety and quality in so many aspects of our lives.
Okay, so let's paint a picture here. Imagine we're walking onto the floor of a chemical plant. Maybe a place that produces polymers for those amazing new lightweight materials we're seeing everywhere these days. What's the vibe like? Where would we find our chemical processing supervisor?
Well, first things first, you're hitting the ground running, and you better be decked out in your safety gear. This is a world of potential hazards. Exposure to chemical safety is paramount. You'd likely find the chemical processing supervisor on the plant floor, surrounded by their team, monitoring those massive reactors, those intricate pipelines.
It's a far cry from a stereotypical office environment. RoleCatcher mentions this job often takes place in bustling manufacturing plants or those like high-tech laboratories.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a certain energy to that kind of setting, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's a dynamic environment. You need to be adaptable. One minute you're troubleshooting a technical glitch with your team, the next you're analyzing data, all while making sure everyone is working safely and efficiently.
It sounds like a job that keeps you on your toes. RoleCatcher uses this great analogy. They say it's like a conductor leading an orchestra.
Right, right.
What do they mean by that?
They're highlighting the importance of coordination in this role. Think of the instruments as the various stages of the chemical process, each with its own rhythm and sequence. The supervisor is responsible for ensuring everything works in harmony, from the initial mixing of raw materials to the final quality control checks. If one instrument is out of tune, the entire symphony is thrown off.
And a harmonious performance, in this context, means high-quality chemicals produced on time and, of course, within those all-important safety guidelines. To stick with the orchestra analogy, you don't just start as the conductor, do you? RoleCatcher outlines a pretty clear career progression. It seems you work your way up through the ranks.
Exactly. You might begin your journey as a chemical processing technician. Think of it as learning to play a specific instrument in the orchestra. You're getting your hands dirty, mastering the technical skills, understanding the intricacies of the process from the ground up.
So you're laying the groundwork for that deep understanding of chemical knowledge. But what's the next step in this career symphony? When do you get to pick up the conductor's baton, so to speak?
Well, once you've, mastered your instrument, you might progress to the role of chemical processing operator. Now, you're responsible for a whole section of the orchestra. You're monitoring those processes, making adjustments, making sure everything's running smoothly.
Okay, so you're starting to see the bigger picture, how your section contributes to the overall performance. Is that where those leadership qualities start to come into play?
Absolutely. As an operator, you're often supervising a small team of technicians, guiding them, and really making sure they follow those critical safety protocols. It's a stepping stone to that conductor role.
And speaking of the conductor, RoleCatcher highlights the next stage, Chemical Processing Coordinator. This is where you really start to lead the orchestra, right?
Precisely. You're no longer just responsible for a single instrument or section. You're coordinating the entire production line, making sure each stage is perfectly synchronized. You're the one ensuring those production schedules are met without compromising quality or, and this is key, safety.
It's like you said earlier, if one instrument is out of tune, the entire symphony falls apart.
Hmm.
And as coordinator, you're the one making sure everyone is playing in sync.
Yeah.
But RoleCatcher also reveals something kind of surprising. These three, Well, they seem like pretty basic skills, but they're absolutely critical for chemical processing supervisors.
Oh, interesting.
Can you guess what they are?
Well, based on what they said, their data, I'd say coordination, reading comprehension, and speaking. And what I find really fascinating is that each one was listed at 57%, which really highlights their importance.
57% for all three.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I have to admit, when I first saw reading comprehension, I was like, okay, sure, important for everyone. But in this context, it takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it?
It really does. We're not just talking about reading emails here. A chemical processing supervisor is constantly immersed in technical documents, safety manuals, industry regulations, you name it. They need to quickly process complex information, understand its implications, and then translate that into actionable steps for their team. Misinterpreting a single sentence could have significant consequences.
It's like deciphering a complex musical score, only instead of notes, you're dealing with chemical formulas and safety protocols. And what about speaking? Seems obvious, but why is that so crucial for a chemical processing supervisor?
Well, clear and concise communication is paramount in this role. Think about it. You're leading a team, delegating tasks, providing feedback, often in a high-pressure, time-sensitive environment.
Right. One miscommunication could lead to a production delay, a safety hazard, or worse. So it's not just about giving orders, it's about fostering that collaborative environment where everyone feels safe and empowered to speak up. It's like playing a high-stakes game of telephone, only the stakes are, well, incredibly high. You need to make sure the message isn't just delivered, it's actually understood. Yeah. But let's say you've mastered these skills, you've climbed the ranks, and you're ready for that chemical processing supervisor position. RoleCatcher is known for its really amazing interview prep resources. What makes their approach different?
Well, RoleCatcher understands that you need more than just generic interview advice. They have this massive library of over 120,000 practice interview questions.
Wow, that's a lot.
Right. But here's the key. They're tailored to specific careers and skills. So for aspiring chemical processing supervisors, they really focus on the questions that really matter.
Give me an example. What kind of curveball could someone expect in one of these interviews?
Imagine being asked to describe a time you had to troubleshoot a critical process malfunction under intense time pressure. Or how about this? How would you address a situation where a team member was consistently overlooking a safety protocol, even after repeated reminders? These are the kinds of real-world scenarios that RoleCatcher preps you for.
It's about gauging your ability to think on your feet, make tough decisions, and lead effectively, especially under pressure, not just reciting textbook answers.
Exactly. And it's not just about the questions themselves. It's about understanding what the interviewer is really looking for. RoleCatcher provides these really good insights into common pitfalls to avoid, making sure you come across as a confident and capable leader.
So they're giving you the tools to not just answer the questions, but to really impress and stand out, like having a secret weapon going into battle.
I like that analogy, but it gets even more interesting. They offer this thing called the RoleCatcher Copilot AI subscription.
What's that?
So imagine practicing your responses and getting personalized AI-driven feedback on your delivery, the content, everything.
Wow.
It's like having a personal coach in your pocket, helping you fine-tune every aspect of your interview technique.
That's incredible, taking interview prep to a whole new level. So to wrap things up, it's clear that becoming a chemical processing supervisor is a challenging but ultimately really rewarding path for those with a passion for chemistry, leadership, and a desire to, really make a real-world impact. But with the rise of automation in so many industries, I'm curious, how do you see this role evolving in the future?
That's a question RoleCatcher prompts us to consider as well. As automation becomes more integrated into chemical processing, the role of the supervisor will definitely shift. We might see a greater emphasis on, say, data analysis, troubleshooting those complex automated systems, and ensuring that, that human-robot collaboration is seamless.
So even more importance on those critical thinking and problem-solving skills. It's fascinating to think about how technology will continue to shape this already really dynamic role.
It really is. And it's something for all of you listening to ponder as you delve deeper into this field. How do you envision the role evolving? What new skills will be in high demand? It's an exciting time to be at the forefront of this ever-changing industry.
Excellent food for thought. A big thanks to RoleCatcher for those insightful resources, and to you, our listeners, for joining us on this deep dive into the world of chemical processing supervisors. Remember, the pursuit of knowledge never ends, so keep exploring, keep asking questions, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.